Welcome to Quick Strolls, shorter walks with the guests from A Life More Wild. These are mini episodes in which we look at particular issues and ideas that we've come across in previous seasons. There's an enormous amount of science surrounding the psychological benefits of being in nature. So much so that at times it can feel as if the whole idea has become overcomplicated. As we found from so many guests on A Life More Wild, it really is simple to make yourself feel a little bit better. Nature isn't the whole of the answer, but it is a start, or at least a place to find one. Dr. Alex George, in between reliving his experience on Love Island with a slight cringe, and talking about the heartbreaking loss of his brother, recalled finding himself in a situation we're probably all familiar with to some extent.
My interest in mental health, I guess, probably started at university. So I ended up on placement down in Truro for a period of time, which I love the coast and I love being by the sea. I think there's an amazing power of healing. But for me at that time, I became a bit lost in myself. I'd been at medical school for 4 years and I don't know really what happened. I just stopped exercising, I wasn't going outside, I wasn't sleeping very well, I didn't see my friends that much, lost interest in my studies, and I just became a bit, I don't know, lost, I guess, in the world. And I kind of sat quietly with it for a long time. I was like, well, what do I do? Because if I go to university, I think, well, you're supposed to be a doctor, how can you possibly have any struggles? And really, I look back now, quite sad that I even felt that way, to be honest. And I felt that I couldn't say anything. And I don't think that's a representation of the university standpoint. I think that was just kind of a general feeling in the medical world that, doctors shouldn't ever struggle. So I kind of kept quiet and eventually thought this was actually getting quite bad. So I spoke to my mum and said, look, this is how I'm feeling. There was that kind of big emotional kind of outpouring. Felt fantastic afterwards. And then, she said, well, actually, you're not doing anything that would make you feel good. Which was pretty spot on. I wasn't actually doing anything that was kind of conducive with happiness or health. So I said, you're right. So what we'll do is we'll talk every evening about my thoughts, my feelings. I'll plan my sleep routine to get up in the morning, go to bed at the same time. I started exercising, made an exercise program. I made a deal with myself to go for a walk half an hour every day, to walk and enjoy the actual nature that I was living in, to plan things with my friends, and to start doing some of my hobbies again, like I just started playing tennis again. And even though at the start I didn't really want to do it and I didn't have the energy to do it, within weeks I was starting to feel better, and then months went by and I was like, wow, I feel so much better from this. And I really learned, and I promised myself I wouldn't drop any of those things again, because I realised those things were like the investment in myself that allowed me to do everything else. And my university work in medicine just improved so much just from kind of picking it up.
For Fern Cotton, being in the public eye meant receiving a constant bombardment of opinions about every aspect of her life and personality, leading to a fragile, uncertain sense of herself. Now, not many of us are in the press as much as she is, but there's an argument that the carefully curated lives we see on social media do a similar thing. See if any of this strikes a chord.
I think most people in the public eye conflate other people's ideas with their own, and I've certainly done that. Certainly in my 20s, I think you do feel like your personality is made up of just other people's opinions exclusively at times, I think. So I've definitely had to, really focus on that and make sure that I'm just going back to what I know to be the truth, and also being flexible in that way, because I don't even know exactly who I am and what I'm meant to be doing, and I want to be open-minded about it all, really, because I think as soon as we become too set in stone about ideas around ourselves, we get a bit stuck and probably a bit defensive, and we just become too wedded to the idea of like, I am this, and you put all the different labels in place. I'm a mum, I'm a whatever you do for a living, I'm a friend, I'm bad at this, I'm good at that. So I think it's constantly like a daily thing I have to work with, because I have people telling me what they think of me all the time, good and bad. And you almost have to ignore both, because I don't think it's particularly healthy to hugely take either of those ideas on, really, but it's much easier said than done. I think because I'd had a bad patch of mental health in my early 30s, I started to feel like I was moving out of that period with a bit more clarity. And, I don't think well, for me personally, it's not like, and then I was fixed. It was just like a feeling of, I think I'm ready for something a bit gentler and just looking at what makes me feel really good rather than being caught up in this vortex of having to just do stuff all the time and worrying what other people think about me or whatever it might be. When you're out in a place like this, none of that stuff really matters. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, but it really doesn't matter here because these gorgeous, handsome trees don't care who I am or what I said or what I didn't do. And the deer that are chilling out under the tree, they don't give a toss if my project's done well or hasn't done well or whatever it is. All the little parakeets, they're not judging me on any level. So I think it is a real grounding sort of leveller.
Alex and Fern obviously get a huge amount from their time in nature, but is it really as simple as just going outside? Psychotherapist Ruth Allen, who showed us around her office, a woodland in the Peak District, thinks there's a little bit more to it, but for those very first steps, perhaps not too much.
So it's lovely. Yeah, some people want to take a photo. Some people don't notice it. They're so in what they're in that they don't notice the view and they head down. And that's something to notice as well. Some people are not having any sort of visual connection to the landscape. They're just pounding the trail. We're just walking around and they're not looking. But that can tell you something about the person, where they're at in their lives, can't it? If I know that if I'm walking through somewhere and I'm not paying it really any attention, I'm quite involved in my head at that point. I'm probably really busy with something and I'm probably not in the best of places, or in the very least I'm just very focused. And so that's telling you something about what it's like to be them in that moment. If I was to say one thing that I would encourage everyone to do is to go for a walk. And it is so painfully simple, but go for a walk and actually pay attention to the world. So leave your phone at home maybe, or at least put it on flight mode, and you listen to the ambient sounds of nature. They are very restorative, they're very calming on our nervous systems, they're really good at stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, and you're not going to notice the ambient sound or the colours if you're distracting yourself with other things. So I think a tech-free walk once a week goes a long way.
As we ended the walk with Ruth, we came out of the woods to a lovely view, and she summed up exactly what the power of being in nature is all about, and why it really can help to get a breath of fresh air.
So you can see it sort of opens up here, fields, and we've got Ryber Castle up ahead. And it's just a really nice, it's big sky, we're back out into big sky. There's a sort of sense of breathing in and it's a change, isn't it? You come out and you can feel the wind now. We're getting sort of hit by the elements a bit more. It's a change, and that's the thing to observe. It's going to have different meanings for different people, and maybe no meanings at all. But it is a change.